Wouldn't you know it? The left is throwing another fit about someone's qualifications for a position. Today, it's a senator, and I'll get to covering that. But for now, I want to talk about something they were crying about, still are crying about, just last week. President Donald Trump's nomination of retired Air Force Lieutenant General Dan Razin Caine as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The woke authors of this narrative have done what they typically do in these instances, found a way to question Dan Razin Caine's ability to do the job. But what exactly is their claim? Is he actually unqualified, or is this just another manufactured controversy? We all probably know the answer by now. Still, let's examine the facts. Critics are pointing out that Caine lacks traditional prerequisites for the role. So, what are these traditional prerequisites? I was curious myself, so I went out and found out. It turns out they are referring to a 1986 law that requires a person taking the position of Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, CJCS, to have served as a combatant commander or service chief. Right off the bat, one counterclaim can be made. Why did this law, only created in the late 1980s, need to exist in the first place? The next logical step is to analyze how this law affects the military branches. Prior to 1986, the military was structured in a way that allowed each branch to operate more independently. The claim being made is that while the CJCS existed, he had limited authority, and military branches often functioned with little coordination. Critics argue that since Caine has not been a four-star officer in one of the military branches and has not served as a combatant commander, a general in charge of a major geographic or functional command, like U.S. Central Command, or a service chief, e.g., Chief of Staff of the Air Force, Commandant of the Marine Corps, he lacks the extensive experience necessary to properly coordinate the different branches of the military. This argument is easily shut down with precedent. General Colin Powell was appointed CJCS in 1989, despite never having been a service chief. So, for this criticism to have any validity, one would have to say the same of General Colin Powell. During Powell's tenure as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, 1989 through 1993, he oversaw Operation Just Cause 1989, which swiftly removed Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega, and Operation Desert Storm 1991, where his Powell doctrine of overwhelming force led to a decisive victory against Iraq in the Gulf War. He also guided the U.S. military through the post-Cold War transition after the Soviet Union's collapse, advocating for a leaner, more strategic force. Lastly, he supported humanitarian intervention in Somalia in 1992, but later opposed deeper involvement, shaping U.S. caution in future military engagements. No one ever claimed Powell was unqualified or that his lack of combatant command or service chief experience negatively affected his performance as CJCS. It would be enough to stop here and state the obvious. This is a fabricated talking point pushed by woke mouthpieces to sow confusion, and that's exactly what it is. But we can go further and ask the obvious question. If these prerequisites are so critical, how did the military function before 1986? The next question follows. Is this requirement even necessary in the first place? Some of you might have noticed that for Colin Powell to take the position, something special had to happen. You'd be right. Precedent was set, and the law was followed when then-President George H.W. Bush waived these qualifications because he believed Powell to be the best choice for the role. The law in question allows for waivers, just like Trump did for Caine. This is just another woke talking point without any real substance, created to fabricate controversy where none exists. No real surprise, that's what the woke do.